as always, joining me is
Oh, you betcha.
Marnie Glickman from Northern California. I'm in South Central Wisconsin here. We have two special guest hosts with us. From Bend, Oregon, Doug Robertson. From Minnetonka, Minnesota, Chris Bjork. And joining us from just north of Menominee, Wisconsin, on 400 acres of unspoiled Wisconsin wilderness, is Mel Jacobson. Mel's camera's not working, but Mel's with us. Mel, it's great to hear from you.
Well, I am so pleased to be here, and I just love Eisenhower. I like people that went to Eisenhower, and we are all a part of Eisenhower, and I have a gold Eisenhower shirt on right now.
That is fantastic. We got into this before we went live, but if you could give us the Cliff's Notes version, how is life being Mel Jacobson, and what have you been up to in the last 30 years?
Well, you need to take about 2 hours, but tell everybody that they can go to melpots.com, and my whole story is there, the story of my last 50 years, maybe.
Okay.
And I've just written a book, and it's called The Jacobson Carlock Saga. It's a story of from 1900 to the present time, and it's the entire story of the immigration from Norway and Germany. And then it's all my stories, and it's 320 pages long. So go to my website, you can click on it, and it's free of charge. You can download it onto your computer or iPad or whatever Kindle you want. There are 3 books listed. I've written 5. I think I'm the only teacher in the history of Eisenhower High School or Hopkins schools that has written a book, and it's the art teachers. And so there's 5 of them. The major book on the construction of kills, and it's a marvelous book, but you probably wouldn't want to read it if you weren't building a kill. And then there's the story of my life in Japan, and that one is on Amazon. So that's the only one I couldn't download because it wasn't an electronic book.
Yeah.
And I live in Minnetonka, but with the COVID, I've escaped to my farm. My wife is in a nursing home. She has very serious Alzheimer's, but we were together since kindergarten.
Oh,
and so as we joke, it wasn't hard to throw her out. You know, it's been devastating. But anyway, we're living and we're upbeat, and I'm 86 years old, and I'm working as hard as I did when I was 40. And I still make pots all the time. So the big thing that happened in the middle of that, then I'll be done, is that a friend of mine came to me with a story about he had a 1,000-year-old Chinese glaze recipe called hare's fur, and he'd been going all over the world trying to get somebody to fire these pots for him. And I said, well, I think I can do it. And he said, no one's ever done it in 1,000 years. I said, well, I think you've made a big mistake. And he said, well, what is it? I said, it's not a glaze recipe, it's how they're fired. And he said, honest to God. I said, yeah, in Japan, I looked at those kills, you know. And anyway, what I did is I made 600 pots, and I nailed hare's fur on the very first firing. So I had to go to China. And
was it about the pace of the firing, or what was the secret?
I had to, some of you know what the temperatures are, but I went up to cone 12, and 10 is hot in stoneware, but I went to cone 12, 13, and I fired without any smoke. It was in a pure atmosphere, and there was the hare's fur glaze. And you could see.
And did you have to hold the temperature for a period of time or anything, or you just went straight through?
At the end for a very slow cooling.
Okay.
And, nailed it on the wall. So
nice. And
I had to give a presentation at the National Academy of Science of China in Shanghai.
Wow.
And there were 18 PhD chemists who had worked on that recipe their whole life.
Wow.
I walked in and said, well, here's how you do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they all slapped their foreheads and said, oh my God.
Wow. And was it just a straight reduction fire?
It's not a reduction fire, it's an oxidized firing.
Okay. And
the reason is that when you fire the kill in China 1,000 years ago, they didn't have kill shelves.
Right. They just stacked them.
And well, you stacked them, but if, for example, you fire in a dirty, rotten wood fire kill with smoke and ash, where did the Ming Dynasty beautiful celadons come from? Why were they pristine and perfect? They make a clay box, put the pot in the box, put a
Okay.
pot cover on it, seal it with clay. The kids make the boxes, and you
Wow.
stack them up about 14 high, and you have about 40 stacks inside the chamber of the kiln. Well, they are protected from the atmosphere.
Right.
So all I had to do is get hot enough to melt the glazes.
And you did it
Wow.
on a stoneware or porcelain?
It was they're all brown pots.
All brown. Okay.
So they're all brown. And I have some
Wow.
of them, but I just gave my entire collection of pots, which was vast, to the American Museum of Ceramic Art in LA. And so
Oh, wow.
all my wonderful Japanese pots and everything has been put away for antiquities, and I just gave it to them.
Wow, that's an
Wow.
incredible gift.
That's
Wow.
been what I've been up to. And I've been to Dubai 3 times. I've now hit 90 countries in the world that I've traveled to, and
Wow.
written 5 books. So as I say, I had not been sitting on my butt.
No.
No. And you said you retired in 91.
91, 92 school year.
Okay.
So I've been full-time trying to be a professional artist and potter. And that's what I do. And I run a listserv, and you can see that on mailpots.com, for 6,000 potters in the world. And it's a Q&A, and I moderate it every day of my life. I've done it now for 24 years. And
Wow.
I do it 3 times a day. And any question you have about ceramics, we will answer it the day that we receive the email.
Wow.
You're making me feel lazy, Mel.
Well, it's one of the ways as you age, you want to give back as much as you can.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So much out of teaching, and I'm the big winner.
Yeah.
So that's what I've done. That's sort of
Yeah.
a thumbnail.
Yeah.
Mel, I wanted to ask you about teaching before we get into all of the fascinating things you've been doing in the art world. But when you're an art teacher, I mean, maybe even more than many of the other disciplines that people teach in high school, people come to you with little to no ability, talent, vision, ideas, anything. They're completely unformed as artists. When you're a teacher, what are you trying to accomplish in a semester or a year with a student that comes to you in an art class at Hopkins High School?
It's very simple. And the thing is that if you say you're an art teacher, then you teach art. If I say I'm a physics teacher, I teach physics. But some people seem to think that you can't teach art, because it's false, because every student that came to me could throw on a wheel. They all learned simple techniques, and they didn't do any art until they mastered the craft. And
Right.
some of those kids would master the craft in 6 weeks. And so what I do is I teach skill. And skill then gives people confidence. When you have confidence, then you can start doing art. See, all 4 of you are very artistic people, extremely artistic. No one has tapped it yet. All we have to do is drill a hole in your head, and it's Vesuvius coming out.
Right.
And
Well, I help with junior high and high school kids all the time at our local schools, and it's
I lost
basically
your
like just.
question. You're gonna have to give it to me again.
Oh, I was just saying that
Give me the
I help.
question again, please.
Well, I was just saying that I help with
Oh,
high school and junior high art classes. Can you hear me? Hello?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
No, yeah, go ahead and give me the
Oh
question.
yeah, I was just saying that I help teach some different artistic techniques to junior and high school kids in our local school district.
Yep.
With a bunch of the different art teachers, and it's basically like you just show them the different techniques and then get out of the way.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. It just,
Give them some confidence, show them that this isn't rocket science, that it's there's simple techniques that can be pushed to really, really extreme levels, and then just let them go.
well, it is just amazing to me is that we all have all kinds of latent abilities if we are let go with it. And
Right.
what I say is that I give children permission to be really good at what
Yep.
at art. And once they get permission, they say, "Oh, I guess I wasn't born this way." I said,
Right.
"No, you're going to learn it." And then you keep learning it, and you keep learning it. And then as you grow, you just excel. I wasn't born to be an artist. I should be working at the Ford plant.
Right.
Labor, you know, we no one ever going to college. And
Right.
so I took because of football, I got to go to Hamlin University. I didn't know what I was doing. I was absolutely goofy as can be, but I met a guy there who absolutely was a wonderful artist, and he was an all Minnesota guard. And I hated him with a passion because I had to play against him for 3 years.
Right.
He wound up being my locker mate at Hamlin. And he said, God, are we going to have fun together? And we did.
Nice.
Then he said, I want to take an art course. And I failed art in junior high because I farted around too much. And so I never took high school art. But the professor there said, my God, I got guys from the other side of campus. This is more exciting than he could handle. But he won first place in the All Hamlin Art Show, and I won second, and we hid in the bathroom and didn't go get our rewards. Athlete and walk up and get the art award was too much. So that started it all, and then we went from there.
Nice.
And in my new book, what I do is I've listed all of my mentors, all the people that have helped me and guided me, and people that my neighbors and friends. So it does just all work out one day at a time, as they say.
Hey,
Yeah.
Mel, everyone, I do, before we ask another question, we have many people watching and listening, Mel, who have messages for you. So I'm going to read them off before Chris asks you the next question. Yep. So Natalie Ojeda George brings up a memory that I share because you were my art teacher in North Junior High. She writes, in junior high, you taught us to count 1 through 10 in Japanese. I can still do it. Amazed my kids.
Ichi nen. Yes. Ichi ni shinchi go. Ichi hachi kujo.
Exactly. Okay, other questions, other comments. Chris Camp Glazer, who went to North Junior High with us.
Yes.
Great stories, Mel. You were the best teacher.
Well, that's
agreed.
Agreed.
And now Facebook's hiding the rest. Okay, Chris, you have a question?
Well, Mel, I kind of want to drill down a little bit into your teaching style, and I think it feels like it was a unified front in the art department between yourself and Vern and Brad.
Yep.
I'm sure you had a democracy of ideas, but I've heard you say in the past that it's important to not bring home all of your crappy pots to your family because they will be around the house for years and you'll have to stare at crappy artwork. And so I just want you to know that there are at least half a dozen crappy pots here in my house that I keep finding in my parents' house. So talk a little bit more about, you introduced the skills to us kids at the high school, and that's when I met you. Talk a little bit more about how you would push a little bit harder to get people to take art seriously and to invest their time to make it the best they could.
Well, the first step of that is that the art teacher has to be serious. And so you have to, that front that I pushed out there was that I am a professional artist. I dedicate my life to it. It's not easy, it's hard, and I push through all of them. And the name of I'm not pumping the book, but it's called From the Ground Up. And in my life, I had to learn everything from the ground up because there were no books published, there were nothing. So it's the same thing with kids. If you can learn the basics, if you're going to do physics, something moving is going to keep moving. I mean, you got to have some basic knowledge of it. So if you can allow them the privilege of learning skills, and then you set them forward so that each day they add to it. It's like training a dog. Give them a skill, next day, do the skill, add to it. And so after kids have been with me for 3 years, they know every story. They know my life in Japan. And I used to tell people that, particularly at the high school, I did boxes for General Mills, and they would put my pots on the cover of a cereal box. And I could tell people I had a show in China and Japan and Dubai, and they go, "Oh, that's nice." I say, "But I had my pots on a cereal box, and every kid ran to call home and tell their mom that I had a cereal."
Right.
So it's also coming down to their level of what they see as important. And so you try to do everything that is important. And I tell everybody, my people I still teaching, everything is important. Every phase is important. And every time you learn one, it's there forever. Because all of you, if I put you on the potter's wheel today, you'd all be throwing. You wouldn't forget a thing. You would be just throwing. If you came to my summer camp, you would fade right in. They say, "Well, you've been making pots a long time." "Yeah, I've been making about 12 years now." And so those skills are always with you. All of you have a job. You work someplace. It's the skills that make you a valuable employee. It's not some philosophical position. Okay.
Thanks, Mel.
Doug, you have a question?
Not right at the moment.
Oh,
Well,
Doug.
Marnie, you brought up something that was going on the Facebook chat here.
Yes, so Mel, Chad Alt, who attended North Junior High with me and Doug. Chris, were you at North?
I was at West.
So Chad Alt writes, not only the
182.
potter,
Was it when were you at North?
85, no, when were we there? We left in 85?
82 to
Yeah.
85, right? Yeah.
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 So Mel, Chad Alt, who went to North Junior High, writes, not only the pottery, Mel was an excellent instructor with calligraphy. Did you teach us calligraphy too?
I remember that now that you say it.
I did it because my wife is an excellent calligrapher, and she studied all over the world. She studied with Donald Jackson, the scribe to the Queen of England, and St. John's University has the Bible now handwritten, and we were a part of that. And so because we had these kids for like 6-8 weeks, we changed classes all the time at North. And so I decided to let my wife come in and do some basic calligraphy because the kids would love it. And so we did that together, and she did the worksheets and came in and demonstrated. And I can do it, but I'm left-handed, so it's all crappy. But anyway, that's why we did it. And it was just something new to introduce, because I was pretty heartsick when I was put at North because they took the clay program away. And so I wasn't going to take it out on the kids. So we tried to make as many interesting programs as we could stuff into those 7th and 8th graders' brains. And it worked. The kids were having a good time, and I didn't try to say, "I hate this place," and blah, blah, blah. So instead of becoming a crazy man, I built the house I'm sitting in right now. And I built it all by myself, the whole thing. So
Wow.
Nice.
don't take it out on others. You got to just get a big boy and pull up your pants.
This tension that you describe of, administrators getting rid of or deciding to curtail certain, arts instruction in schools, that's sort of a story as long as schools have been around, right?
Yeah.
How did you navigate that in your career?
Probably the biggest lie told in public education is hands-on, brains-on. And they all quote that all the time. And of course, they don't follow it. I follow it. And so, you hear people, it's still 3 hours in public school. That's who gets all the money, who gets all the time. So in my situation and what I teach, if you're an art teacher, support yourself. There was nobody saying, let's support the art department. No, I supported the art department, and the kids with me, they supported it. And so we sold stuff, we made stuff, it was just wonderful. We always had more money than we needed.
Yeah.
And we found it places.
Well, one of the high schools here where I live, the most popular class is the ceramics class.
Yeah.
They can't even get into it. The kids, some of the kids we know. So.
Well, that's why I took everybody, Doug. I mean, I took every kid.
Well, I think they literally don't have the space.
Yeah.
It shocked me when I've gone into some of the high schools and seen coming from, you know, where Hopkins High School, where there was an entire department and wing for the art department, and then going into some of these newer high schools that were built within the last couple decades, and the art departments are tiny, and there's 2,000 kids that go to these schools. I'm like, how do you function in here?
It's one step above color crayons.
It's crazy, you
Yeah.
know, and the teachers do their best. I mean, I have to applaud them. They really push the envelope, but
I have to tell you all and everyone listening that any program, sport, anything, a successful program has a successful person running it.
Yeah.
You know that I coached swimming for 16 years and diving at Eisenhower. We had 8 state champions and 7 runner-ups in that 15 years. The year I went to Japan, the team came in 12th in the state.
right.
I left that program. Bob Johnson died. Elmer Luke went off. They haven't gotten a spot in the state meet since. And so the program is the person that runs it. The CEO of a great company is based on what those people do. And so I don't know if you got a weak teacher, the program's dead.
Yeah.
That's
Speaking of teachers, I'm going to jump in here. Mel, could you speak a little bit about what, since, you know, my condolences to Vern's passing recently, and
well, he did not pass. I had to correct that. So I have to tell you, he's in severe hospice. So,
well, I'm glad he's with us still, but
yeah.
Could you talk a little bit though about working with Vern and Brad and what that relationship was like? And since so many of us had all 3 of you, and in our careers there, talk a little bit more about those other gentlemen.
1959. So that's when I first met Vern, and we worked together at South Junior High. He was a phenomenal artist, a phenomenal human being. He had incredible skills, but he was frightened to go into the commercial world. He would have made tons of money, but he couldn't do it. So he was a happy teacher. He was a happy colleague. Brad was much more of a loner than Vern and I were, and he had a much more rigid program. He did what he did, and we all got along. But Vern and I were very special friends. And I talked to Vern 10 days ago before he went to hospice. And so he's just a phenomenal human being.
Wow.
I was blessed to have good people around me, you know, as an art teacher. To be alone and trying to do what I did would be pretty awful. I mean, yeah, so.
Yeah.
Doug,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, Doug among us is a professional artist, makes his living as an artist, and is has developed a name for himself and giving back to the community up there in Bend. What, as a teacher, you know, especially an art teacher, the people who go on to be professional artists must be pretty, you know, few and far between. But what do you make of that when one of your students goes on to actually make their living?
Brag again, but I have 16 former Hopkins kids who have their PhDs in ceramics.
Oh, wow.
We have a young lady that went to the high school, Hopkins High. No, she was at Ike, and she said that she wanted to copy my life, and she wanted to have a golden retriever and going to live in the mountains, and she's going to fire pit, but she was a terrible potter. Well, she stopped at my house about 3 years ago, and I said, well, what are you doing now? And she said, well, I have my doctorate in thermodynamics. And she said, I just designed the rocket for the new moonshot. Oh, you did. So she liked kills and fire. And so rather than become a potter, she got a PhD in thermodynamics.
That's fun.
Excellent.
Yeah, well, when I was in college as a ceramics major, it was always, there were the fire potters and the wet potters and the glaze potters. There were people that were obsessed with 3 different areas. So you're either, you know, obsessed with firing the kiln and kind of a firebug, or do you hear me?
I can't understand.
Oh, well, I was just saying that there's the 3 different types of ceramics people. There's the fire potters, the wet potters, and then the chemists that are obsessed with the glaze.
Yep.
And
Well,
it's unusual to find somebody that likes all three. So that's funny that she was into the fire, and so she designed a rocket, probably.
I started out when there wasn't a lot of people around. So I built my first kiln. That's also pictured on the website. But I built a kiln that I'd never seen before. There's an invention of a new kind of brick. And so I built it in my garage. It worked like a charm. And I've had that kiln. I've had kilns. I've been building kilns my whole life. But if you have kilns and you have your own kiln, then you have to fill them.
Yep.
And so that's why I went to Japan to learn how to make pots 100 times faster.
Right.
Like an American potter might make 4 pots a day and have to go in and have a beer because they're too tired. But I could make 30 pots an hour.
Can
Yeah.
you
In
explain
Japan,
that more?
I had a 24 pot an hour. That's what I had to make.
Mhm.
And so you learn how to do it quickly and efficiently. And I learned how to make. So,
Did you ever do salt kiln firings?
and you what?
Salt kiln?
I have one.
Yeah, I love salt kilns.
It's 20 yards from me right here.
Yeah.
It's a great big one. You could sit inside of it. It's so big.
Yeah.
And we have
You
a
used to
wood
build-
kiln.
You ever do wood salt, or is that what it is?
We have a big wood kiln here, and it's a
You ever-
beautiful wood kiln. Fires in 18 hours.
Okay.
With wrap wood.
You ever throw salt into it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we have a salt kiln, so we fill that up with salt, and it's
Yeah.
nice kiln. So it's we have 7 buildings on our farm, 5 new ones, and we have a bunkhouse, and we have a woman's building. And the camp, when we run our summer camp, the women are at the south end and men are at the north end. So women can get up in the morning and be in their jammies and have breakfast, and the men can't go up there until 11 o'clock. And the women come down, and so we call it the safest place in the United States
Yeah.
for people. And we have all the genders covered, and we love them all. And so it makes for a very pleasant place. It's what
Now,
I
are
tell
you-
kids. Yeah, what I told kids all the time is that we give unconditional love when you come to the potteries. Only you can get rid of it. And that's by lying or cheating or not being a good person. And so was basically the philosophy of the department. We accept everybody. Come on in, get to work, and you're going to love it. And they did. So
And are you tentatively scheduled to have your summer camp this summer with COVID, or are
we
you
had
pulled
what
off?
we did last summer is we had 3 sessions.
Oh, okay.
And so we had like 10 people 3 times. And the different people came up and we did distancing and everything. But we also feed everybody. We house everybody. Everybody has a bed. Everybody has a wheel to work on. They have clay. We have calligraphy. We have painting, drawing, printmaking. And so these are professional artists who come from all over the country. And they come with expectations to teach and to share. They don't come expecting a chocolate on their pillow.
Right.
It becomes a very nice thing where sometimes the youngest members of our group are teaching something that they have learned. And so but Hay Creek, we call it, Hay Creek Camp, is exactly like Hopkins schools. We work out that you can bring 50 people into your home, feed them, house them, take care of them, and it costs $300. And so I say, well, if I have 50 people, that's a lot of money. And then when we need a new building built, they all chip in.
Wow.
And
That's
so we
great.
built this whole place over 35 years. And we've had 4 people that have been together every summer for 42 years.
Mm.
So they love the place. And
Wow.
it is a love affair. But I keep repeating that again and again. If you give love and affection and care about the people, they give it back to you 10 times.
Mm.
And so it works. But you have to do it. You can't talk about it. You have to do it.
Yep.
But speaking of that whole thing, I have a wonderful apprentice. She's been with me. She's now my studio mate. But she was a Hopkins kid. She went up to UMD and very attractive gal. Mark Bailey is her uncle. I don't know if you remember Mark Bailey. No, he was Ike. But she hated it because they wanted to make vaginas out of clay and penises and, you know, gutsy art and all this sort of thing. And am I still with? No, I just.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
We're with
Yep.
you.
We got you.
Okay, we're back. But she went to UMD and they wanted to have vaginas and paintings and all this ugly art. And she left and came home at Thanksgiving and said, I'm never going to college. I'm done. And she was actually suicidal. And her grandpa said, oh, let's drop her off at Mel's. He'll fix her. And they did. They dropped her off and I fixed her. And she's the best pottery student I've ever had in my life. And she now runs the pottery at my place. But just interesting. I don't think any of you know it, but art as a subject has been dropped at the University of Minnesota Duluth. And so
wow.
rather than discipline these idiots that were teaching this crap, they just said, oh, we're just going to not have art now. And they dropped the program and 38 art teachers were let go.
Oh,
None of them
no.
will ever find a job again. But
Yeah.
it's
Wow.
obscene art. And they said, you can't work on a potter's wheel. That's Votech stuff, you know. We do
Right.
gutsy stuff. And so
Mm.
they came back and I said, now you have to go to the U of M and get your degree. They're 10 times worse.
Yeah.
UMD.
Well, everything now is conceptual art. There's not a lot of
No.
patience with
No,
actually the
no.
craft of things. People don't care about the craft of things as much anymore.
No. That's
The art departments are all about ideas.
Yep.
But
well, if
you
that's
can't, but about executing the idea. Where does that come from?
why are you an artist? Because you have skills.
Right.
You have saleable skills. If you just drew pictures of vaginas, you wouldn't have a job. And
Right.
they don't have a job now either. But art programs in college are being closed all over America for that very reason.
Yeah.
Let me, I'd like to jump in. Sorry to interrupt, but I know we've got probably other comments. But before we get to more comments, I just wanted to share as someone who appreciates art, who took all the art classes that were offered at Hopkins and then went on to junior college and took more art and studio art, really how much the teachers at Hopkins at that time, 86 to 88, influenced me as an individual, not as a practicing professional artist, but in engaging in my own creativity. And I think that a lot of people who are watching this right now or who will watch it on YouTube later, were all affected by the art that they experienced at Hopkins because of your ethos and your dedication to your craft. So I just wanted to put in a plug for those of us who are the appreciators of art, who maybe work in a creative way that we wouldn't have otherwise had we not been exposed to that, and just how important that is. And then also a commentary on how sad it is that what you're sharing with us about art as a teaching discipline in universities, and perhaps what you shared, Doug, about art being sort of belittled in some fashion in the high schools across the country, is a very sad thing to note right now, and how much we lack in our society because of that. So anyways, that's my.
I completely agree. It's a long trajectory that has gone in the wrong direction for 4 decades. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, the exposure we had at Hopkins High, it's just monumentally influential on all of us. I don't think you can understate that, and how important it was for everybody.
The basics is that we had people of passion, and you don't find them. You know, our teacher, well, I'm going to teach you how to draw sticks and blah. No, I am an artist, and I want to be, and I'm world class now. But I worked my butt off to be world class. And I went to Japan and worked 12-hour days for 27 days in a row once. And I stayed 1.5 years and I made 10,000 pots. When you do that, then you're dedicating yourself to yourself.
Mm.
Yeah.
An artist, the only thing you have is yourself. It's not a group activity. It's you. It's you against the world. And so I love the idea of just digging in by myself and then surrounding myself with people who are like that. And there's 4 of them right now I'm looking at that are like that. You know, you dig in.
What's that? what's that saying? Preparation combined with opportunity equals success.
Say that
And
again.
preparation combined with opportunity equals success. If you're
Yeah,
not prepared
absolutely.
for the opportunity,
Yeah.
you're not going to succeed.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's the kind of the daily thing in a lot of craft activities, or, you know, even Chris, what you're doing right now with remodeling. If you don't develop the skill base and invest your time in nurturing that skill, you're not going to be prepared when the opportunity comes. So,
Right.
Okay.
Mel, as an artist, do you find that the art you create in northern Wisconsin is different from the art you create in Minnetonka or?
Well, the environment is different, but I think that you get to a point where you control materials.
Okay.
And so if I make a teapot here, but the kills are different. And so the product is brand new. And I have switched over, and it's another major part of my life, is that I bought a little tiny electric kiln that speed fires. And I'm now firing, I created a brand new clay body. It's going around the country. It's called Mel 6. It's electric fired. But I'm firing to cone 8 in 4 hours. And so I can make pots that morning and drink coffee out of them at night. And I'm doing this whole thing with high speed firing. And the pots love it. They just love it.
nice.
And so it's like every day there's something brand new to work on.
When I was in my 20s, I had a little countertop kiln that
Yeah.
just plugged into a 110, and I fired everything to 06 because I was using low fire
Oh, sure.
glazes
Yeah.
and
yeah.
layering them to get the colors, and then putting the clear over the top and doing everything
Oh.
when it was wet. You know, but it was because I was so mobile and unstable as a 20-something, and it was you could still make big art pieces. You just have to do them in stages.
Well, if you and I had to go to prison for 20 years and they gave us a little tabletop kiln, I bet we'd use it, and I bet we'd master it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you master what you have. And, you know, so what we've done in America is a group of us, there's 6 of us, that we will never listen to a woman say, well, I don't have a gas kiln, I only have an electric. And my answer is, well, why don't you master it? You're a wonderful potter. Go home and master it. Don't worry about what I have. Just worry about what you have. And now there's pots being made that knocks your eyes back. So it's very exciting.
Yeah. You can do soak fires and crystalline glazes and go crazy.
I have an interesting story from one of your students, Mel. John Babcock
Yes.
writes, I was really affected by my art classes at Hopkins High. I ended up moving to Japan and studying pottery. Ended up living there for 10 years total. It was an incredible experience, Mel.
Wow.
Oh, what a great story. Yeah. Yeah, that's just terrific.
Excellent.
I was just going to ask how many of your other, I mean, maybe you can't even count the number of students that you're still in touch with at various levels. Are there little moments from your past as a teacher?
Yeah.
How often do those come up?
A lot of them, I've got like 6 or 7 are teaching in colleges around the country. Every major kiln company has a Hopkins kid working in the factory. You know, the technical director of Scott Kills in California, in Portland, is Perry Pieri, and he was with me for 4 years. So he directed all the kiln construction, and so they all kind of just feathered out and kept on going to find new things. But there's hundreds of them that are making pots still, and they're coming back more and more and more because there's wheels available and they're building kilns. And so that's why I want anybody that's in hearing distance, go get my books and look through them. You can have the $70 kiln book. It's all done and it's waiting for you as a download. But
Nice.
you know, though I sold so many that I said, now it's time to give it away. So now all of them are out there for nothing.
Yeah.
So Mel, I have a question. I'm a parent of an 11-year-old, and I want her to really explore art in a way that is much deeper than what is available in the current education system. And specifically, Hopkins Public Schools works really hard. The art teachers are working hard within impossible constraints. What would be your recommendation for those of us that have children or have influence in kids' lives today, in terms of what can we do to get involved in supporting art, getting more people involved in art and passionate about it, to support it, to be still available in communities?
Well, I think that you have an absolute opportunity with an 11-year-old, because she's already been doing art, obviously.
Mhm.
7, 8, 9, she just probably has a passion. Buy her all the art materials that she wants, but she has to give up tennis shoes. Wait, hang on a minute. It's going unstable here for some reason. But anyway, she doesn't get expensive tennis shoes, but she gets a whole box full of acrylic paint, and she gets real canvas, and she gets real art materials. And then you sit down and paint with her, and you have the family paint together, and let her lead, and let her, because once they get confidence, then you can't stop them. It's like saying, well, birds aren't blue and yellow and green. You make a letter V and put it on the paper. That's a bird. No, let her do whatever she wants. And there's total freedom.
Chris, buy her some spray paint.
Pardon?
We teach spray paint, fine art spray paint to junior high and high school kids, and they don't really get exposure for that.
Yeah.
And it's addictive.
It's magic. If I don't have spray cans, I'd have to give up my life. I just love spray cans.
Yeah, the kids start spraying that spray paint, and watch out. I mean, and there's all kinds of different nozzles now that you can get that are different sizes, and it's a fun tool. So you can do fine lines, you can do big fat lines. There's all different types of feathering you can do. It's really fun.
I don't know if any of you have seen if you do look at my Facebook page, but you know that I'm teaching a course in painting.
Yep.
And the paintings are 4 by 5 inches, little tiny minis. But we have about 1,100 people painting now.
Yeah, I love seeing your painting assignments for the day.
And they send the paintings to me. They won't put them on the net. They send them to me, and they're wonderful. And
wow,
literally hundreds of people have started painting because of that.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Well, I have a comment and my last question. So Mel, Mike Elliott, who is our classmate.
No, Mike, very well. Yeah.
So Mike shares, I got into college because of Mel, ended up with a ceramics studio arts degree. And so my question for you is, clearly you have students that you've affected who are all over the world now.
Yep.
When was the first time you thought you should become a teacher?
I was going in the ministry. That's why I went to Hamlin, and I have an undergraduate degree in philosophy and sociology. And I like to tell people that God came to me and told me to get the hell out of there. So he said, they're going to kill you. And so my wife, we were engaged, and she said, I'm not going to be a minister's wife. No, you're going to be an artist's wife. But what happened was that I was really short on honor points when I started playing football and swimming and everything in college. And so I would take art courses and I'd get an A. And then I said, well, I'll take another art course. I get an A. Well, that makes up for the D I got in zoology, and I went out with my painting professor at the U, and I took him to lunch, and I wanted to thank him for all those A's that he gave me. And he said, you really are stupid. I said, Hank, I don't know what you mean. He said, do you think I give easy grades? You're the best painter I have at the U. He says, get the hell out of that Ford Hall and get over here to the art building. And he said, go over there and talk to that Reed Hasty who teaches art ed. He'll get you going. And so I went over to talk to Reed Hasty, who is a wonderful instructor in art education. And he said, fine, let's just do it. We'll do it in about maybe under a year, because all those philosophy classes, we'll pretend they were education classes. So he signed off on 40 credits for me. and I became a fifth-year senior, and I teach at Hopkins High with Vernon
Wow.
on Engelbart.
Wow.
Wow.
That was the end of it. And
In 59, you said you started at Hopkins?
yeah, well, I graduated my first time at 57, then 58. And then I went to 59. I taught school at Ely, Minnesota for 1 year. Came
Okay.
back, went to South Junior High, and been at Hopkins. And so my career was about 34 years.
Wow.
But I was
Wow.
very young and 55, and I got the hell out and never looked back. Haven't been in the building since.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I just got a brand new life, and you can't go back and redo the old stuff. So you got to just walk away.
Yeah.
I haven't been in a swimming pool in 35 years. I haven't been to a swim meet in 35 years.
Huh.
So it's all, that's what you do. You walk away.
Yep.
That's pretty fantastic. Mel,
Go ahead.
this has been an amazing conversation. And we know based on one of the things that we ask all of our class, this show is just dedicated to our classmates. And so we've been interviewing classmates now for 38 weeks. And several people have said that, it was the art class that really sticks with them, their experiences in the art department that they really hang on to, even if they're not artists, even if they don't particularly think of themselves as artistic still. So, and on behalf of our whole class, on behalf of, kids from many classes who went to Hopkins High School, thank you for your dedication and your passion.
Yeah. Thanks for being you, Mel.
I have to tell you that I was the big winner. It was because it's like you and adults like you. That's what makes my pride and why I sleep well. Good night. Say goodbye to everybody. Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you, Mel.
Thanks, Mel.
Take
Bye.
care. We'll see everybody else back here on Tuesday. Marnie, do you want to preview who's up?
So I'm so ready. We have Chad Alt and Michael Stevens Clap. Hey,
Yes, I know them.
oh, really? They're next week. Then we have Brad, February 23rd, we have Brad Jones and his mystery guests.
Ooh.
I think maybe some North Junior High people. Then Michelle Tweed, Marcuson Hamilton, and Susan Tweston Knudsen.
Uh-huh.
I'm really booking them. Then March 16th, Laura Roth Green and her mystery guest. And then I'll stop at, April 13th. We just booked the Royals softball team.
That's going to be awesome.
Oh my goodness. And then I'll stop on April 20th, Katie Keene Stevenson and Jenny Thompson Grossman.
Wow, that's
Whoa.
a lot.
1 year.
That's a lot.
We're
Nice
coming
work,
up on
Marnie.
our 1 year anniversary. I hesitate to say, but it's happening.
Enjoy seeing you. I'm going to sign off. So thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mel.
Take
See you
care,
later.
Thank you, Mel.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Chris
Bye.
Bjork. Thank
Thanks.
you, Doug Robertson.
Thanks for including me in this conversation, you guys.
Really appreciate it,
Marnie.
Doug. Thank you.
We'll see you
Thanks,
next
Chris.
week.
Everybody.
Thanks, Chris.
Great.